So after about 10, 15 days being on the floor, my manager, John Kinley, another mentor of mine for a short period of time, pulls me in and says, "Hey, man, we need to talk." And I'm like, uh-oh. And he said, "I got to ask you a question. I need you to be honest." So, okay. He said, "Did you go to college?" "Nope." "Why did you lie on your resume?" "So I can get the job." "But you didn't have to lie." I said, "Well, if I didn't do that, you wouldn't have won sales manager of the month and I wouldn't have won sales rep of the month and we wouldn't be sitting here today. So I had to take a chance. I got the job. I do the job. I think it's irrelevant if I went to college or my age." He said, "Just don't ever do that again." And I got to keep my job. So the point and the principle is that not to lie, but to act as if, to be there, to take chances, to bet on yourself, to put yourself out there, because all you can get is no.
Bam.
Welcome, everybody. We're here for really an exclusive, private mastermind, exclusive opportunity to chat with Jayson about his book firsthand. I just wanted to make an introduction, and we have a little bit of a treat that Jayson actually decided to do at the last minute. So one of the things that, if you've read the book, you know Jayson loves to give back, and he has had a very, very interesting journey along the way. Since he grew up in, like we were just talking about, with not a lot, and then has come to where he is today, and he loves to give back. So last year at this time, there was some women's organization that Powerhome Solar gave to, and there've also been a lot of different organizations. I know the giveaway for the employees, for example, was almost $300,000, and those were cash giveaways. And I was literally sobbing watching those people who won those amounts of money that changed their lives. I mean, it was so.
Hey, Roger's on here. He won a little something too.
I know he did. That was so cool. That was awesome. Congratulations. So in that vein, a couple things. Jayson's going to make a donation. I am going to make a little introduction to another charity, Junior Achievement. Jayson did a keynote last year for the kids for their Spark Tank competition, which was a little bit like Shark Tank. It's a really amazing organization. So Junior Achievement in South Florida, they help over 50,000 students, K through 12. And I'll let Lori speak about it. But one thing, just to reiterate, it really is such an honor to be here and to hear Jayson's story and to be inspired by a company and a person who gives back so much to the community and really so many different charities. And I know he's going to share his journey. And the other thing that I love is that Jayson's not afraid to share his flaws along the way. And I think that really inspires me personally and so many other people, because you know what, we're not perfect. There's hiccups along the way. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Lori, and you can tell us a little bit about JA, and then I'll give it to Jayson.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody. So I'm Lori Salarulo. I'm the president and CEO of Junior Achievement of South Florida. JA, just for those of you who may not know, is a global organization. We have 204 areas around the world. We are one of the top 5 here in the United States. There are about 102 here. We have the largest facility that we teach our students from 5th grade, 8th grade, and high school about financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and workforce skills. There's not a person that I know today that isn't talking about the issues they're facing in their business and workforce. And we talk about immediate solutions, right? How do I get people in jobs today? And that's great. And we need to focus on that. But at the same time, every one of you on here is a business person. If you're going to be here for another 5, 10, 15 years in your business, you need to be also looking to the future. And how will we create the future pipeline, right, of talent coming into your businesses? And that's really JA's focus. We are extremely experiential. We partner in Broward. We have one of the few organizations that has a partnership with the school district where we serve every single student, starting in 5th, then we go to 8th, and then we go to high school. These are mandated programs that are embedded into their core subjects. And the reason for that, and the reason why it's so effective comparison to a summer program or an after-school program, is that when we show kids the connection between academics and the real world, the magic happens. right? And that's what JA does. But the one thing we can't do it without are mentors. And Jayson, I've heard your story. And I know that you've talked about so often people who wanted to push you down or heap you down. And many of our kids face those same challenges, right? They come from situations where there isn't someone in the home or in the neighborhood or in the family who's lifting them up and helping them. And that's where we work with about probably usually between 6,000 and 7,000 mentors a year to bring these programs to over 50,000 students. They need someone like all of you who can show them, hey, I made it through. Often they look at us and they think we got here with no bumps in the road. And that is so not true. We need to tell them that it's okay to fall, right? And then how to get back up, or how important it is to get back up. And so the mentoring piece of junior achievement is the most critical piece. And that's what makes it so successful. And then I'll end with, there are just so many opportunities for everyone. And every one of us should be mentoring in some way, shape, or form. We have opportunities in the 5th grade to begin to mentor them that young, and how they're running businesses, learning about finances. I was telling someone today that the most stressful times in my life, all of them, and thank God there aren't too many, but every single one of them was about the insecurity of my financial position. When I went through my divorce, I was the most stressed ever. I didn't know, right, what my future was going to look like financially. It was extremely scary, especially having children. And then there were other times. So it's so important that we teach them. We've all made mistakes. We've all had those anxieties. We need to help them to manage their money when they earn it, and then, of course, to build wealth. 8th grade, again, that mentoring around career exploration. They don't even know about most of your jobs out there. But if you share with them your industries and the jobs that you have, all of a sudden, right, their whole world opens up to unbelievable opportunities that we can give them. And then, of course, in high school, Jayson, you were our keynote speaker at the Spark Tank finale. We were told we can't use Shark Tank. And so we have 600 young people who are starting real businesses, real money, real products, sourcing them from China or wherever else, selling them, marketing them, all of it, and then competing at the end of the year. The most important component of that program is the mentors that work with those teams, helping them to get through those challenges and developing those mindsets and those skill sets, right, that we all need them to have. And then, of course, at the end, we have a couple of other high school programs, but then also placing them into employment. You can hire these students. They've gone through 8 months of preparing for a job, real world skills, solving problems. You can present a case challenge to them so they can work on that and develop the skills, and then bring them into your companies and mentor them, right? Often we say, oh yeah, I'm going to hire an intern. And then we kind of stick them by the copy machine or whatever. Not the best opportunity. The opportunity is to mentor them. They can give so much back if we give them an opportunity. So I'm going to kind of stop there and just say thank you. Thank you for your commitment to how important, right, the whole idea of mentoring and how important it is to pay it forward or to give back and to give someone else that hand up and show them that even though the road may be hard, that they can make it, just like we did. And thank you for the financial commitment. We really appreciate it, and we can't do it without people like you.
Thank you very much, Lori. And to find out about JA and program this past year was exciting to watch those kids, right? To watch them pitch their business and have real businesses at such a young age. It was inspiring. It was cool. I went home and told my wife and kids, like, look, this is like, our kids need to do it. They're like, we don't need to do it. Yeah, you do. So, it is cool and unique. I was honored to be there and to speak to those kids and to be a part of that. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Great. So Jayson, I know you said you were going to make us a donation to Junior Achievement. Do you want to share that? And then we'd like to open it up so you can share your story and talk about your book.
We're on behalf of Powerhome, so we're going to donate $5,000 to the So anything we can do, we always want to be a part of that program. We love it. We've got to get probably some relationship building in some of the markets we're also in, because we're coming to Florida soon, but we'd like to probably meet some folks up here in Charlotte, Michigan as well, to get some of our employees and their families involved too, because we're always looking for philanthropy work to give back, especially to the youth. So we're super excited about that. And thank you, Lori, for all you do. You bust your tail. Thank you.
Thank you. It's all worth it. When you see these kids actually transform through programs like that, it is all worth it. And as a parent, I think there's no greater gift we can give them, but to give them the resources and the skills they need to be successful. So thank you again. Appreciate it. And if anybody is down here in Florida, we welcome you to come and mentor. And Jayson, I can certainly hook you up in Charlotte.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So I think we're going to open the floor to Jayson and have him speak about his book. And then hopefully we'll have some time for some Q&A.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that, Cindy. So first of all, thank you for everyone on here for the support on the book. The book, financially, I have no gain on the book. So really it's giving back. The book actually costs me money, but it's about giving, the opportunity, the experience to become real to people out there. Not that I'm special, but to say, oh, I have similar traits or similar background, or, I was raised the same way, or I didn't go to college, or, I failed at something, or I grew up in this kind of family. I just tried to make it, to be more real to people, because if I had that experience and that knowledge and somebody to coach me early on, things could have been done a lot faster, right? But you learn through failed experience. And doing the book, was really inspired first by winning the Entrepreneur of the Year award in 2019. And they told me I needed to write the book. And I was like, I've never read a book. Now I've read like one book. It's been my book. Sorry, I'm going to read other books. I haven't done that yet, but it's one. And that's because I had to read it when I wrote it, and I had to read it when I recorded it. But I have ADD. Now I've started to listen to a few books, but I have ADD, so I can't sit there and read. I'm the guy on the beach or the pool that's up bouncing around. Like, why are you laying out? Let's go do something. So that's me. So it's hard to sit down and read, but they told me I should do that. And I wasn't sure. And then when COVID hit, I decided to do the podcast. And with the podcast, I said, this is going to be cool. I knew some cool people that I could put on the podcast and have fun with it. I was on these meetings all day, on the hour, by the hour, with, law enforcement, with the health department, with local jurisdictions, with, doing everything we could do to stay, follow the CDC guideline, to stay essential, to stay open. And so I would have, we were doing that. I would have so much time into the office that when it hit like 5 or 6 o'clock, I'd be bored, because I was used to being on calls all day stacked rather than really running a company. I was just putting out fires. I was like, I need like an outlet. So I was like, let's do this podcast thing. And I did it, and it took off. And when it took off, that led for me to meet a fellow friend that Cindy introduced me to, Heather Monahan. And when I was on her show and she was on my show, she challenged me to write a book. So I did. And anybody can write a book, because half those words I couldn't probably spell. I'm just being straight up. Like if I can do it, anybody can do it. And it's the same thing of running a business. It's the same thing of challenging yourself. And that's what the book's about. It's about, 8 principles, 8 ways to really overcome adversity and to have a no excuses life. Because too many times, I just interviewed my dad on a podcast. He is not the guy to get interviewed. For those that know him, he's the quiet, he's like a teddy bear with teeth, he says, and he's just doesn't want to talk like that. But he went in there. We did a quick interview. Well, it was a 50-minute interview. It wasn't quick. And I was asking him questions, and, and some of the inspiring moments that I had in my life that changed my outlook. And we talked about the time he had an opportunity to own a business, and where he chose to play it safe and not play to win. And that kind of set my mind up certain things. And there were other things in my life that happened with my mother. She's my mother-in-law now, but it was my girlfriend's mom, and not allowing me to see my kid be born. Like all these things that happen that trigger and mold, us, the things that happen in your life, they mold us. And you decide either you're going to let it dictate who you are, or you're going to let it inspire and motivate who you are. And that's what those 8 principles are really about, is different subjects or different times in my life, whether it be business or personal, that I could share and help inspire somebody, or help push somebody through a moment, or help them second guess. We just made a really big decision in our business earlier today to take a left turn on something we were trying to do. I just didn't feel good about it. So we literally took a left turn on. Now, it's not going to be impactful to anyone on this call or our company, but internally I made a decision, and you have to be able to make those decisions, and you have to be able to stand behind them and not be scared. And so, a lot of failure and a lot of time to get out of the swamp and learn that when you make a decision, there's no such thing as a bad decision, and stick to that. It makes life easier. And I've made decisions that I've struggled with, and I don't know everything. I fail all the time, every day. I told my son, they lost a game last week. They won this past weekend, thank goodness, because he needed it. But I told him when he loses, I said, that's when you learn. You don't learn when you win. When you win, you're just using what you've already learned to be successful. But you don't gain anything by winning. And that's facts. That's facts in relationships. That's facts in business. That's facts in anything we do. That if you don't struggle, you're not getting better. If you don't have challenges, you're not getting better. If you're sitting at cruise control, you're not growing. And running a business, or being in sales, or being a father, or whatever it is that you do that you love to do, if it's not challenging you, you're not growing. You're just staying the same. And to me, that's withering, right? That's eventually dying. And I want to try to live and be challenged and get stronger and become better and learn more knowledge. Knowledge is key. I won't read books, but I'll learn from experience or learn from mentors, like what Lori talked about. I try to coach people, and I try to get coached every day somehow, some way. But on the book, I think, and I hope everybody's liked it. I feel like I poured it out there. It was a sliver of my life and business of little 8 principles we can get through. There will be a second book. There'll be more business oriented, not personal oriented, that I'm going to do that we're working on, behind closed doors, that we're excited about. But this was really to get it out there and share the passion and share the vision and basically allow people to not have an excuse life, to be relatable to normal folks. Because, when certain folks, they always have this assumption that, oh, I can't do that because, or that's not me because, and all of that's just your mind, or it's just fear. And really, you can do whatever it is you want to do. You are capable to do whatever it is you want to do. The good news is you wake up every day and you get to live your life. Nobody else does. And we sometimes forget that.
No, that's so true. And, a couple of things that we were talking about just that I think would be really valuable to share is just maybe over the past 2 years, how, with COVID and, obviously you've had to pivot, and things were not easy for employees. You've hired over 1,500 employees, or nearly 1,500 over the past 2 years since COVID. So maybe you can give us a little insight, share, how your team pivots and, how you have maneuvered the situation.
Absolutely. And look, we're all going through growing pains right now. If your company's successful, you're going through some pains, right? If, what I noticed about COVID is you have companies that really flourish and grew, but they're struggling in other ways. And I'll get to that in a second. And then you have companies that just couldn't fathom it and they shut down, which is unfortunate and sad. We're in a business that is essential. We're partnered with Generac on a lot of things. We love those guys. They've got a great product out, and they have the same mission and belief that we have. And so when we partnered with them, it was prior to COVID, and COVID hit. It was like the perfect storm. Unfortunate that COVID hit, but people right now, they care more about their power going out. They care more about, reducing costs on electric bills, but really their power, like their kids are homeschooled, they're working from home, all these things that when we shared those, advertising commercials and ads out there talking about, energy independence, talking about battery and storage and the resiliency of still having things on if the power goes out and the grid being, frail. When we brought all those things up, after this happened, we exploded, and we exploded so big that we were drinking from a fire hydrant. Like Cindy mentioned, we went from 750 employees. We're at 2,300 right now in a 2-year span, less than 2-year span. Well, we still don't have enough employees because we tripled or quadrupled in size of our sales. And so in a market today where you've got a lot of people that don't want to work, and you got a lot of people that, in today's society just don't know how to work, it's a small group of people that you can hire. And in our business, where we've struggled the most is we have three things going against us. One, it used to be, and I'll use Cindy as an example. Cindy, you'd sign up for solar today. We'd install you in like 60 days. And then there's a thing called interconnection where you'd be up and running in about 60 days. So literally 120 days, your solar's energized, you're ready to go. Well, that was pre-COVID. And then during COVID, that pushed out a little bit. Well, today, if I sign Cindy up, it's 4 or 5 months to put her in. I'll get to why in a second. And then it's 5 to 6 to 7 months to be interconnected. You're looking at 13 or 14 months. So a customer naturally gets upset that experience isn't what it used to be or what's expected. And a lot of that is out of our hands. So we have our growing pains, which I'll get to that in a minute. But one of the things that the utility companies have is they have growing pains. So they have the thing called interconnection. So as we continue to sell all these folks and these people want to get battery and storage and solar, and we're sending them more interconnections, they're not backfilling those positions. You've got COVID. They don't, so now something that used to take them 60 days to turn around is taking them 7 months. There's no urgency there, right? There's laws against it. We can continue to press the issue with the utility commissions and do things, but that doesn't move the needle. So when a customer signs up with Powerhome and, they're scheduled and they get installed, but their stuff never works, and then they get a bill from their finance company, this is an example of what happens. They're getting billed for something that's not on yet because the utility company has growing pains. They haven't been able to backfill the employees. They're having the same growing pains that we're having. So that's going against us. Same thing with jurisdictions on permitting. It used to be 60 days till we can install. Now it's 4 or 5 months because, all these counties, they have their own ways, their own, way they hire, how they, dictate when a permit's going to be ready and when it's not. All that has slowed down the thing. So what we failed at, what we struggled at is we didn't get ahead of it. We would continue to sell, and then this timeline would extend, and then we'd have customers calling in, hey, I'm really upset. Like, we got installed 2 months ago and it's not on. We got installed 4 months and it's not on. And it's called growing pains. It's inexperience. We're throwing our hands up. Like, how do we fix this? What's going on? Well, we just changed the expectation. Now we sit down with somebody like Cindy and go, hey, look, you get this year on us for free, this 12 months up front for the payments. Really, it's because it used to take a few months to get everything done. But in today's world with COVID and the utility companies and us and the jurisdiction, things take a little longer. We want you to use this year on us to pay some of those payments you might get from the finance company after we install it if you're not active. That's not going to slow down sales. That's setting the expectation correctly for the consumer. We didn't do that. We failed at that. We're a company that's growing super fast. And so sometimes that creates problems. So it creates a wave of issues. And then also another thing we did, is because we're trying to hire people. When we sent out a letter, we tried to be proactive. We're like, hey, we're really excited about our brand, but we want to see what we can do better. Let's send out the survey letter. We sent out to 25,000 customers. We had a flood of calls, and a lot of those customers weren't activated yet. They were installed within the last 6-8 months. A flood of calls and emails, which really made us go, oh, wow, we've got some things we can work on and be better. I feel we're really good. We have an A+ with the BBB in every market because we do what's right by every customer we can. But we're not perfect. And we want to own that and get better and do the right thing for all our customers. And so when we sent that letter out, that wave came in, we realized we went from about 900 calls a month to 3,600 calls a month. We were like, wow, we got to overstaff. So here we are, more growing pains trying to backstaff. And, the reason I bring this up is in any business, whether it's small or big, you're going to have these growing pains. You're going to have these struggles, these things that sometimes you can't control at all, that you're going to have to overcome and put your big boy or girl pants on and deal with it. And the best way to deal with it is own it. Own what you can fix. Set the expectations correct with the consumer, and then start addressing the issue one by one. The fear sometimes happens. We have these executive calls, and all of our executives are completely different. That's what I love about it, right? We all bring something to the table. But sometimes one or two of them might be really negative. Oh, walls are caving in. This is what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, guys, we got to be like Pac-Man, right? We got to eat one bite at a time. Or we got to be like what I wrote in the book. There's no elevator in life. You got to take one stair at a time. We can't conquer this whole thing. We can't clap our hands and every customer is super excited and, our growing pains are gone. It takes time. It takes resilience. It takes experience. We just continue to do the right thing all the time and it gets better. So, we've had some of that with the issues with some of our struggles. And then we've had some product issues with some of our vendors we've used. They've had some issues, but theirs are normal growing pains where they're growing and they have issues. So we've had to involve them. So you sometimes get where we had a perfect storm of growth. We had a perfect storm of, oh boy, we've got some changing to do and some better things to do, which really makes our business stronger, right? It makes us set the expectation as we continue to grow better and allows us to start, focusing on the customers where we might have had some shortfalls to make them right. Go ahead, Cindy.
Well, I was just going to say, I know a couple people on the call. I want to open it up. So anybody, if you have a question, put it in the chat and we will be able to ask Jayson questions. But I know we were talking offline, like Vanessa, who's part of our team, but she also has a side hustle because she does her business, which is singing on the weekends and nights. And so I know we were just talking about how to juggle those things. So do you want to ask your question, Vanessa?
Sure,
are you there?
Yes. Yes. Can you hear me?
Hey, my fellow TEDxer, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm still on that TEDx excitement. I still have all that excitement. It didn't go away right after.
That was a cold night in Florida. I don't understand.
The coldest night of the year. It was crazy.
And I'm like, this isn't what I signed up for. I was freezing.
No, it was literally 30 degrees. I grew up in Florida, so I'm not used to weather like that. It was crazy. It was, but the adrenaline got you going, and it was all good. But yeah, so cold, super cold. I think one of my questions would be, let's say you do have your regular 9-to-5 job, and then you do also have a side hustle, but you want to you want to expand more on the side hustle. What's your best tips for time management in regards to making your dreams come true and making that side hustle be the main hustle, I guess?
That's a great question. And I can tell you that's happened to me twice where, I worked at Verizon Wireless and, full circle and transparency. I might be hiring my old manager at Verizon Wireless, might be coming in right into the company. He was interviewing, he's looking for a position, but this is a guy who mentored me and groomed me for about 4 years back from 01 through 04. And he used to say, "Oh, you're a diamond. You just need polishing. You're a little dirty, right? We got to clean this up." Well, the problem was, as Vanessa, I succeeded at that company, at an astronomical high rate. I was crushing it, and I was crushing it so fast that I felt I should have been promoted many times over. And because of my lack of education and my age, I wasn't. And so I had to make a fundamental decision. Had I been promoted, we all might not be here today. I would have stayed at Verizon, and there's nothing wrong with that. That would have been the path I chose. No regrets, would have done it. But because I wasn't getting promoted and I felt handcuffed, I felt like it wasn't fair. Things I can't control. I mean, I guess I can control. I didn't go to college, but I was better than people they were promoting. I don't care if they got a piece of paper that says they're smart. That's irrelevant. I had more experience. I'd worked circles around them. And two, my age, that's irrelevant. If I can do the job, who cares? And so it bothered me. It pushed me. But I kept a great relationship. So I decided to open a home security company. And I was excited about this. This was 05, beginning of 05. And I'm like, look, I'm going to get in the home security business. I'm going to protect homes. This is exciting. I'm a salesperson. I build a sales team. So I went to my manager and I told him, and I said, look, I'm going to do this, but you're only going to get about 75% of me. You're not going to get 100% of me. You're going to get 75%. I mean, number one person you pick, I'll take 75%. Great. So I set the expectations with them first. And then what I did is time management sucked for me because I had a kid and I had one kid that was 5 and an infant, brand new newborn that was 2 months old. So I literally would go work with Verizon, and I did outside sales for businesses. So I would have business appointments and phone shows at different locations and stuff. And I ran a couple of people worked for me. I would go do that from 8 to 4. And then from 5 to 9 or 10, I was running appointments because I had a flyer crew that would go out and put out flyers that would say free home security system and your choice of a Craftsman garage door opener or a $200 gift card from Home Depot for $1 a day monitoring. Call us. So people call me, hey, I want to get that free garage door opener. I'd be like, great, Vanessa, I'll get you that garage door opener. It's only $1 a day for the monitoring. I get you the alarm system. When can I come see you? Can I come see you at 6 o'clock? And I'd hang up the phone and I'd have these appointments in the afternoon, and I would go and I would sell them. So I built the business out of a 1,100 square foot house. I built it out of our master bedroom on a tile board slowly. And so my point to this on your question is, You have to do it slowly. It's one step at a time, and you have to ease in. And what happens is people try to open up that side hustle to get rich. Don't do that. Make sure that it's self-funded and you've got enough reserve where you're able to take care of your overhead so you can reinvest your business to where eventually it can pay you. Because I did this for 9 months. And then when I knew there was enough equity into the company, it was profitable, I had employees, things were growing, I can give myself a salary to make up losing Verizon, I left. But you have to make a smart decision there, because if you're making decisions based on emotion, pressure, fear, because you need a paycheck and you're scared, you're going to fail your business. So you have to pace yourself the right way. But great question.
Definitely. Great answer.
I agree. And I'm one of Vanessa's biggest fans. So I'm always telling everybody about her gift of music. And at the risk of potentially losing her, but I obviously want her to follow her dreams. So I have a couple questions here, but I know Cassie mentioned she has a question here, and she has a small business and wants to know, what do you recommend crossing the threshold from a small business to a medium-sized business without losing the integrity of the current business? That's a great question. And I know Jayson obviously went through these growing pains from small to medium to large.
Yeah, that is a great question. And, unfortunately, when you're small and sometimes when you're medium, you're going to lose a lot of people, and you're going to lose the culture is going to change a little bit. And what happens is when we're small, like we open up Michigan, it's our second office. And, I'll use, I love Ian, but I'll use Ian as an example. He's no longer with us. He was one of our managers there, and he's a great dude, and we had him there. But he has a relationship with me as the CEO because we only have like 300 employees, right? And he's there's only like 3 people between me and him, 2 people between me and him. So he builds a great relationship with me and Kevin, my business partner. We're doing things. Then there's people here in Morrisville that have a direct relationship with us. But as you scale and as you start to grow, there become layers between you and those folks. And some folks' frequency, and I use this, what my mentor and coach teaches me, it's not about, how you grow, because that's almost insulting. It's frequency. Some people can't keep up with the same frequency that you have or your business has. And so they kind of have to stay in the same spot sometimes. Some move up, some don't. And when they don't, sometimes they can be bitter because they're like, well, I remember when they were small and I used to do this. Now I work for this person and this person and this person. They're insulted. And people take you being a small business as a reason for them to be entitled because they were employee number 88. And I'm a big believer, right, wrong, or indifferent, that everybody gets a paycheck. And that is for your efforts in your job, period. Anything you do above that is on you, but you get promoted because you went above that. And you stay here and you continue to grow because you even went above that. But we're not entitled to owe anybody anything. They get a paycheck. They do a service. If they do more than that and they're going above and beyond and they're in the top tier, they get promoted and they keep growing. I believe that all the way, because what bothers me is I'll lose relationships with great people. And I have a great relationship with Ian. He's no longer with us, but I use that as an example because we've had an intimate conversation about, man, we were smaller. I had this relationship with you. I'm like, dude, you've got a manager, you got to read, you got to deal with those folks. Like this is part of the evolution of growth. But sometimes people can't stomach it. He stomached it pretty good. But there's other people that we've lost along the way that can't stomach it. They feel they're supposed to be second in charge or third in charge. Well, their frequency might not have grown. And as you continue to grow and your business grows, you've got to fill those layers in order to grow. So your culture is going to change. Your mindset's going to change. Everything's going to change on how you do business. When you first start, it's like, okay, this is how we do things. And then you get a little bit wiser and you realize I got to tighten the ship a little bit. And then when you get even bigger, it's about playing defense, not offense, right? Offense is where, how do we get deals? How do we do this? How do we do that? And then, you're kind of in the middle. And then when you get bigger, it's like, okay, how do we protect not having, an accident? How do we make sure we have the right benefits? How do we recruit? It's a different mindset in running a company. And I'm learning as I go, or I like to say I'm building the plane while we're flying it. But I reach for mentors all the time. I try to educate myself all the time. And I'm the first to tell you, I don't know everything, but I'm going to try to find out. I'm going to try to surround myself with people that understand. But I didn't know what the hell EBITDA was till like year 3 in our business. It's the 3rd company I built. But now I understand, but I have smart people that work for me that can manage that part. I don't know how to build Salesforce out. I got smart people that can do that. When you evolve the business, it's naturally going to take its new shape. And you've just got to stay above the frequency, and you've got to be able to realize who's moving up that frequency with you and who's not. And you got to be able to have a relationship with them or a conversation with them to set the expectations correctly. Because if anything, where I think I failed sometimes is people felt they had this direct relationship with me and it's all about being friends or boys or whatever. And it's not. Like, we can be friends and boys and homies outside of work, but I have to protect the brand. We got 2,300 families to feed. I can't make an exception for one because you started earlier and I hired you. Like that doesn't work that way. And so you've got to be able to make those decisions and have zero emotion on your decision making.
This is super helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's really great information. So, okay, so we have a few more questions. Tony asks 2 topics that I'd like to hear you teach: the ask and how to close. Do you have some advice on that?
Absolutely. So you never want to ask an open-ended question. You don't want to say, sounds like a good deal, right? Because I always go back to the basics when I knock doors. I used to go, when you go into a place to buy clothes or any place and you're just looking, when they come, we all feel this way, that you get annoyed. They're like, hey, can I help you something? No, I'm just looking, right? We all say that. No, the answer is no. But if they came to me and said, now I wear size 34, so I'm happy. Here's a size 34 jeans. Why don't you try these on? I'm like, hey, I'll try these on, because they didn't ask an open-ended question. They assumed the sale. And so I'm a big believer in the ask is there's a reason why you're in that spot at that moment. So you have to act as if, and you have to assume the sale. You don't have to be arrogant, but you've got to be super confident, because whatever you're about to ask for the close, you're about to try to close this deal, they're trusting in you. And people buy on emotion, and they buy on credibility, and they buy on reaction. They don't buy on, oh, it's just a great deal. Like, no. That may get you in the door. But the way you present yourself and the way you carry yourself is how that deal is going to end up going. And people that have no confidence, they're not closing the deal, because then that customer has no confidence in you. People that are too arrogant, you've rubbed the customer wrong way. But you got to be super confident. Don't cross the line of arrogance, but you got to assume the sale. You got to listen. Too many people talk all the time when they're closing a deal. Find the points of what's going on. Ask them the questions you need to know to overcome the objections early. When we do solar, we ask, how long have you been in the home, Cindy? How long do you plan on being in the home? Like, we want to know that stuff, so you can't use it as an objection at the end of this presentation to tell me, oh, I'm going to move soon. No, I took care of that now, right? So you want to hit things head on and early so you can build the rapport and the relationship the rest of the time. And the way I like to ask for the business is I assume it. I say, like, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started, get the credit thing. You want me to have them email to you? You want me to get you on the phone? Like, I'm assuming the sale. Now, everybody does it a little different. I'm aggressive. When I used to knock on a door and sell home security, I'd knock on the door. I'd talk to you a little bit. I'd slip my shoes off as I'm talking. You go, where's a place we can sit down? I'll show you what I got. Like, that's not, are you interested? Because that's a yes or no, and it's always no. Is this something you want to do? The answer is no. But if you don't ask an open-ended question and you assume, or you ask questions where they have to answer and give you full answers where you can listen, then you're getting closer to asking for that sell. And like I said, the aggressive way of slip, you can't do that in 2022, but 2007, 2006, 2005, I'd slip those shoes off. I'd be at the kitchen table 9 times out of 10 writing the paperwork, because you assume it. And people like that. They're talking to you for a reason. And in our business, in today's world, the old school way, I heard Cindy at that speaking event, that guy hit it right on the spot. I forgot, he does a LinkedIn thing, but the old school way of sales is dead. People knocking doors and telemarketing, that's more of the past.
Oh, that was Mark Noodleberg, right?
Yeah. Everybody wants information up front. You got to be able to empower people to make decisions. You do that by asking questions and walking them down there and letting them make the decision. There's your answer, Tony.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yep.
So,
why, you selling something soon, Tony, or what? No, kidding.
We've got a great question here from Dara. She says, I currently manage 2 teams and support the sales leadership team. I'm hustling to make moves and have the goals to become a director soon. What advice do you have for a young female leader hoping to move up within the Powerhome Solar team?
Well, I would say this, and I say this all the time, and people get upset with me. Females are better salespeople than males every day of the week. And the reason is because it's the credibility, right? People trust females more than men. It's a fact. So you've got an advantage already. You need to utilize that because you're trustworthy. But you've seen, being in our business, the most successful people in our business are usually the teachers, the loan officers, people that can conversate with people, educate people, and aren't too much. They're not too pushy. They're not too salesy. You don't have to be. They want to be able to trust you. And I think, we have some, great female directors. We are always looking to diversify, more minorities, more females all the time. I think a lot of times, and I'm glad to hear you, Dara, going out there on a whim and asking the question, because a lot of times what I've noticed is if we post a position for a director or some kind of leadership, we'll get 10 to 1 men to female apply. And I don't think it's because females aren't capable of doing it. I think because females are so honest and so accurate that if they feel they don't have the credibility or they have the experience, they're just going to bow out. And a lot of these males are full of doo-doo sometimes, and they just want to just wing it, and they just lie on their resume. I'm just being transparent. Like, that's what I've seen. Like, we have to get more females. I've got 3 daughters, so I'm all about girl power. We've got to get more females taking more risks and trying more and putting themselves out there more rather than being reserved, because that's what these males are doing. They're just, I'll apply for that job. I've done that before. Yeah. And they wing it. Well, why can't a female go in there and wing it and not be nervous? And so I think that that's the part of it first, is not being scared to jump out there. And secondly, tell who is above you, tell your leader that you are interested in that, and ask them to coach you and ask them to groom you the steps you want. Nobody's going to say, no, I'm not going to do that. And when they do that, they have an interest in you. They're talking to their superiors about you because they want to go ahead and brag a little bit about how they're coaching someone. And this just continues to elevate, to go up. That can help elevate you. But the biggest thing you're doing right now is throwing yourself out there. It's courage. More females in the workplace have to have the courage to apply, because I see it happens all the time. There's actually more females than men in this world, but they don't like it. There's a fear factor, in my opinion, of like, you'll put like the experience you need, and men will be, like I said, they'll lie and be like, oh, I've done that before. And, then they wing it to get the job. Females are just so honest that sometimes it hurts them. And I'm not saying be dishonest. I'm saying have the courage to put yourself out there more.
I love it.
Thank you.
I have to give Dara kudos too. I think that's awesome that you put it out there. Congratulations. It's
Absolutely
great. Yeah. And I remember, Jayson, you shared a story about you, like kind of like doing something before you had the experience. I remember you talked about it. Like you had a job that you kind of fibbed about your age or something.
Yeah, I did. I didn't put that in a book, but it's in a podcast. So I was 19 years old. It was 2000. I was 18 years old. It was 2000, or it was 1998, and I was 18 years old. And Hannah was just born. And I fibbed on a resume that said I had you can't do that stuff now. So I don't recommend this, right? That the internet knows everything. They hear everything. But back then, you could take you couldn't, they didn't have many print machines. Like you had to literally go get 5-cent copies at the gas station. Like that was the world we lived in. The internet wasn't a big thing. You couldn't find information. So resumes were huge. I don't believe in resumes now. I could care less. Like some of the executives, like, yeah, some of your resume. I'm like, I don't need the resume. I just need to know, tell me what you did and let me interview you. I don't need to know anything else. But that's because I know how BS a resume can be. And I would take my resume, and I wanted this job because I was so bad. And I was like, I know I can be good at this. So I applied for a job at First Union at the CIC Center in Charlotte and WT Harris. And I lied. I had a fake ID. I was 16. I had a fake ID. It said I was 19. And so when I was 18, it said I was 21, right? I was going into clubs or whatever. It was as a kid. But I had a fake ID. It had my name on it, just different date. And I went in there with my fake ID. So it looked like I was 22 or 21 years old. I think it said I was 22. And I filled out the application. I said I had a 2-year degree, associate's degree, because you needed that to get this job at First Union at UNC Charlotte. And so I get the job. I interview well. We're in training. In training, we're doing pre-sales. I'm smoking everybody the first 2 weeks. I mean, I'm so far ahead of everybody in sales. Like the managers are coming to talk to me like, when are you going to like be live? This is crazy. I mean, I'm blowing everybody out of the water. I think I had more sales than everyone in training together. It was such a blowout that I kind of got to my head a little bit. Like, yeah. And during that time, we got to week 3, training was a month. HR pulled me in and they said, hey, Jayson, we need to talk to you. I didn't think anything about it. And I go in there and they're like, hey, we're trying to find your degree with UNC Charlotte. They said they don't have anything. I said, well, did you use Jayson or did you use William? They said, oh, we use Jayson. I said, no, my real name's William. You got to use William, right? Because it's William Jayson. So then I was nervous, like a pit in my stomach. And I'm like, oh, this is going to cost me my job. This is crazy. I'm crushing it. This is like my dream job, like making 80 grand a year. I'm 18 years old. Like, wow. I get onto the floor. That buys me some time. Week 1 goes in there, crushing it. The month ends. Because I had so many sales and training, I won the award for top sales rep, even though I wasn't on the floor but a week. And my manager won for top manager at like 18 teams. It was crazy. So after about 10, 15 days being on the floor, my manager, John Kinley, another mentor of mine for a short period of time, pulls me in and says, hey, man, we need to talk. And I'm like, uh-oh. And he said, I got to ask you a question. I need you to be honest. So, okay. He said, did you go to college? Nope. Why did you lie on your resume? So I can get the job. But you didn't have to lie. I said, well, if I didn't do that, you wouldn't have won sales manager of the month and I wouldn't have won sales rep of the month and we wouldn't be sitting here today. So I had to take a chance. I got the job. I do the job. I think it's irrelevant if I went to college or my age. He said, just don't ever do that again. And I got to keep my job. So the point and the principle is that not to lie, but to act as if, to be there, to take chances, to bet on yourself, to put yourself out there because all you can get is no. That's it.
I love it. That's awesome. So we have 9 minutes left. I have 2 questions, but Lori has a great question and maybe I'll let her say it in her words, but it says women need courage, but how can men help break the stereotype and put a hand out to bring women up? Do you want to share a little more, Lori, what you're thinking?
No, I think Jayson was talking about women having the courage to ask, and I totally agree with everything you said. And unfortunately, sometimes that confidence and courage comes as we get older, right? But how can men really, being that they recognize this, if they recognize it, how can they put a hand out and say, okay, I need to bring this woman up, or I need to help this woman and mentor, right? Going back to the mentorship. How can a man help mentor a woman to help her be more courageous?
Well, that's a great question. And I think that's super important too. I have purposely hired a female as a VP on purpose, like, oh, let me do this. This is the right thing to do. And she interviewed well. She wasn't even the most qualified. And it ended up costing us a lot of money. And she was like evil. She was a crook, but I didn't know. And you make mistakes. So I'm not a believer because I've been at that moment where it's like, oh, like we could hire this guy or this guy, but dude, she's a rock star. She's a female. Like that's so good. We need that. We need women to be, higher in our company and do great things. It's so important. It's what I want. I want diversity and I want change. And I want, I just want us to be different than the old school, good old boy network. Like I hate that. And so I forced it and it bit me in the butt. I still to this day, we have an opening for 1 or 2 C-level positions. And to this day, the applicants are 90% male. And we just haven't found anyone to fit male, female, white, black, orange. To me, none of that matters. If you're good people and you can do the job, you got experience, we want to bring people in. That's it. So I can't say that as an organization, you can try to push forward and be like, hey, let me bring you along, but they've got to be the right person. They have to have the right skill set because then to me, that's doing the anti thing is it's creating animosity because maybe that person's not experienced and the person that was experienced didn't get promoted. So I'm a big believer. It doesn't matter if you're male, female, what color you are, where you come from, how much money you got in the bank or how smart you are. The best of the best should elevate, period, right? Everybody's got the same 24 hours to do what they want to do. But I think it comes back, and this is crazy to say, but I feel this way. John Mayer's song Daughters, it comes back to the fathers. It comes back to the dads in today's world have to empower their daughters to make decisions, to be like, my girls are tough. I feel sorry for anybody they marry. My girls are badass. You know, I love Hannah to death and I love Alex, but dude, Alex ain't got a standing chance with Hannah. You know, the other Alex with Mackenzie ain't got it. Like, they yes, man, like they're bosses. But you have to instill that in girls young. Otherwise, their confidence isn't there. And, you know, us as a, you know, in an organization, I'm willing to coach any female. I get coached sometimes by Heather. I've coached, you know, Hala, who manages my podcast. I coached another girl who was in solar. You know, we should, you know, I think people, regardless of gender, should coach anybody that's wants it or needs it, regardless. But I think that it still comes down to courage, because just like you have to be courageous to ask and apply for a job, you have to be courageous and ask for coaching. And if they're not asking, you know, it's almost insulting when you go, hey, do you want to be coached for something? Some people take that the wrong way. And so you run into that a lot. You know, if I look, and maybe this is wrong, and hopefully this doesn't you get me in trouble, right? But I am who I am. If I have a female and I have a male that have the exact same everything, I'm taking the female every day. And the reason is because I just feel like they're going to make a bigger impact and take it to the next level because it means more to them, for whatever that's worth, if all was equal. So, you know, but we're not, you know, I can't dictate what's all equal. You know, we're always looking to add female leaders and bosses to the game. I think it's important that we get out there and continue to try to coach people, but I think it starts with the fathers. I think the dads and the husbands have to empower their wives and their daughters to be something great, to spread their wings, to not live in a shadow. It's not 1940s. You know, women don't have to stay home. Alex stays home with the kids. Hannah's Alex stays home. Like, he's a Manny. Like, that's how it works. So, like, the world we live in today, you got to empower women to do whatever they want. And I think it, like I said, it starts with the husbands and the dads.
That's great, Jayson. So we have just 4 minutes. So I don't know. We have, I think, one or two more questions. Roger had a question, and I remember hearing this story, and I love it. In your book, you mentioned how your mother-in-law became an investor after she saw what you put into it, even when she wasn't your biggest fan in the beginning. Tell us that moment when that happened, because it's part of your, I guess, underdog story, right?
Yes. And, you know, that story, I always, you know, when I tell it, you know, people, the way I tell it too, like, you know, the situation in the book, it's brought up like she's the villain. And dude, she was the villain. Like, I believe you own what you are. She was a damn villain for a long time. But you know, she didn't let me see my daughter born. She was anti my family. Her, you know, my wife's family at the time made fun of my family for living in a trailer park. Used to say we'd stick our feet outside and move it like the Flintstones. And I used to kid, like, really? Can we do that? Like, I used to try to make mockery of it and make fun of it. But it was motivating because I had something to prove, right? I hated when people told me what I was because of something I couldn't control. Females, minorities, people who are poor, they all can relate. When someone tells you you're not capable because of something you can't control, it pisses you off. At least it did for me. And it gave me fuel to be super motivated to take it to the next level. So that's what I did. I always promised myself I was going to make enough money where I flew her mom places and bought the dinners. And for 15, 20 years now, I've been buying every damn dinner. I don't remember her mom buying one dinner, and I won't let her, right? And I've flown her on every plane. But over that time, we didn't talk for years. Like, it was a sticky road. And when in this third business in Powerhome Solar, year one, we lost our butts. And, you know, we had 35 employees. We did 3 million in sales, and we lost over $1 million. And all the money I made in the home security business went back in there. And I had to make a decision in December of 2015 to sell my home. I lived in the Point, North Carolina. It's about a $2 million home. I had to sell my home, put all the money back into the business. My wife wasn't happy. I got the stink eye. But I was going to sell and put it in the business. And so that's what we did. We listed for sale. We sold it. We put it in the business. So we could, you know, I had a longer vision. I knew that, hey, you know, I'm not going to, it's a staircase, right? It's one step at a time. I got to get to the top. So during that time, sell the house, put the money in the company. We're still having some struggles early 16. We didn't get paid for 22 months. Me and Kevin went without a paycheck from January 2015 to November 2016. And then we were getting a really, really small check, but it was something, right? Made us feel, oh my gosh, we work for someone, we get paid. But you have to be disciplined. And when I did that, my wife saw my frustration. She came to me. Her mom had some money from a trust or something. Like her mom has always had some kind of money from family, and she'd never done anything for us, never bought us, like nothing, nor did I want anything from anybody. I'm that type. I don't ever want to owe anybody anything. It's just who I am. And so my wife comes to me and goes, hey, my mom's got some money. Why don't you, I know you sold the house, put the money in there. You get strong. Why don't you get a loan from her? I said, I'd rather get hit by a bus 16 times than take money from her. What are you talking about? Like, really? Hell no. Like, no, not a chance. I said, we're fine. We've got money in the bank. There's like $600,000 left. We're fine. We're going to do this thing. She goes, well, what if she wants to invest? She mentioned to me like, hey, Jason's business, is he taking investors on? I said, your mom wants to invest? Like, really? She's like, yeah. I said, absolutely not. I'd rather burn in a fire. Absolutely not. And I came to work and I told my business partner, Kevin, I said, you ain't going to believe this shit. Tish might want to invest in the company. He goes, that's a great idea. I said, the hell it is, dude. We don't need it. We got $500,000 or $600,000 in the bank. The tide's starting to turn. Like, we don't need her money. Like, I don't want to. He's like, no, think about it. She invests money, you're going to be more motivated. I said, dude, I'm already, yeah, but you're going to be motivated to make sure that either she makes money or, that we never have to use it. And I said, well, we won't have to use it. He's like, well, just think about this. What if she makes money? How big of a win is that? And I'm like, I don't know if it's a win, dude. I don't know if I can fathom that. He's like, well, dude, if we ever use our 600 and we have to use hers, I mean, it's an investment. She loses, right? And I'm like, I guess, dude. He's like, I think we should do it. Why not? Just put it in a different account. So I go, and I tell her, yeah, we'll take an investment. We'll give you X amount of % of the business for $100,000. And I told her, I said, we're going to put it in a trust or a escrow. Unless we ever have to use it, we're not going to use it. So we put it in that escrow, and I purposely even worked even harder. It was like more motivation to make sure I never touched her money, and we never did. And fast forward to about, she gave $100,000 that we never used. She became a millionaire 4 years later. We cashed her out. When we got big enough, I said, here, you're out. You don't need to grow anymore. Take your money and run. And so I made my biggest hater a millionaire. And she's the biggest believer, one of the biggest believers in me and my business over time. And now she's not a villain. And she's not a villain because she gave us $100,000. Because if she could have lost $100,000, I'm going to be straight honest, and maybe you'll judge me. I would have cared less if she lost $100,000 back then. I care now because we got a good relationship. Back then I was like, shoot, hopefully we get to use it. She don't get it back. Like, I was that bothered and angry and motivated, but I never had to touch it, which was exciting. And there's nothing better than making a biggest hater or your biggest doubter profitable and believe in you and more money. And so that was the story, how that went down. And, she was so thankful and all these things. And then over time apologized for how bad things were when I was younger. And I forgave her. We've got a great relationship. But that was a tough time. And, she is thankful that, I allowed her to invest because, a lot of her trust lost, stocks went up and down and lost her butt. And she was able to take that money to, live the rest of her life, debt free and do things all on an investment that sat in escrow that we never used. So, and I have no regrets. When I make a deal, I make a deal. I'm not bitter about the deal. It was motivation. Had I not got that money, I might not have been as motivated. I mean, who knows?
Awesome. That's so great, Jayson. This is why your podcast is ranked number 3 for entrepreneurships on Apple, because you're addicting. I know every time, just thank you for sharing your energy, your inspiration. I feel so fortunate to be in the room with this group and with you. And I know it's 4:03, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Lori for joining us. And I just want to, again, in closing, let everybody know Junior Achievement has been around for over 100 years. As Lori said, it's available throughout the globe. So if you want to get involved in an amazing organization, there's a JA anywhere around the world. So, and then Jayson,
I can answer. I'm looking at these questions. I hate to leave people in the wind. I can answer some of these pretty quick. I'm not going to.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay,
nope, I'm just looking at them real fast. I'm gonna be quick. So anybody mentioned my love, bam. What's the one thing you'd say to brand a new FEC to help them get off the right foot? Brand yourself, Benjamin. I would put yourself on social media, tell people what you're doing, be proud of it. Your friends, your aunts, your cousins, ex-girlfriend, everybody in the planet, let them know what you're doing. Somebody will be interested. That will get your first sale and you keep growing. You just need to keep branding yourself. Can't get enough of that. Women need courage, but how and a man help break the stereotypes that put a hand at ring women? Okay, so we already answered that. Awesome point, Jaysberg. Thank you. Okay, how can a woman help a man be courageous in a situation when I have a true lead?
I think we read all of them. I think I've been tracking.
No, Jessica's is yep. Looks like I see Cassidy's on here. Cassidy's the director of senior director of production. But I would say, look, there's nothing better when I see a female on the production side that's kicking ass. So I would say that the boys should appreciate that, and the project manager should get behind that, because if you're promoted to a crew lead, that's awesome. Like, it's about breaking boundaries and breaking the walls down and doing great things. And what better way than a stereotype electrician / installer, mostly majority being men, and you come in and kick ass and you're a great crew lead. So I would bring that up. The project manager and/or Cassidy should definitely reach out to you and talk to you if there's an opportunity for you to be there, but don't be scared to do that. Like, just like, guys are going to clown on guys. They might clown on you. You got to have tough skin, but don't let them half-ass do work because you're a female. That's unacceptable. They'll lose their job, right? If we bring somebody in and that's the boss, that's the boss. That's how it works. It doesn't matter. And so, I wouldn't be fearful of that. I would just, take the chance and make it happen. Javon, thank you. Yes, we can do another one. Lori, thank you. Okay, bam. Okay, I think we're good with everything. Oh, got to get a finance trainer. Okay. Thank you, guys. I appreciate everybody's support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for taking the extra time to go through the final questions. We're so grateful. Thanks, Jayson. And thank you all for coming.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bam.
And that concludes another episode here on True Underdog. If you're interested in hearing more, make sure you subscribe at iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the YouTube channel. You can always visit trueunderdog.com, subscribe to all of them. Make sure you check out our newest episodes coming out on Mondays and Thursdays. True Underdog, baby. Bam!